The Del Mar College Board of Regents to order at 1 p.m. on Tuesday, October 14th. I'm going to call roll to establish our quorum. Dr. Babley? Regent Loeb? Here. Mr. Garza? Here. Dr. Adami? Here. Regent Averett? Here. Dr. Turner? Here. Regent Kelly? Here. Regent Krull? Here. I'm Carol Scott. We have a quorum and can conduct business. Would you please join us in a moment of silence? Thank you. Dr. Adami, would you lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance, please? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And please join us as we read our Del Mar College vision statement. Del Mar College empowers our communities to achieve their dreams. All right, you all are used to me saying that we're streaming our meetings live and in real time, but today we're not. We have an issue with our Wi-Fi system in the building, and so today we are recording the meeting, and it will be posted later on for the public to observe. But just be aware, it may come on at some point. We'll find out if it does or not, but we apologize for those who will be watching this then after the fact that it is not streaming live. We begin our meeting with the opportunity for folks from the general public to make comments on items not on the agenda. Is there anyone here to make public comment? Seeing none, we are going to move on to our recognitions. And we have the opportunity today to recognize our Veterans Services Department, and I'm going to ask Ms. Rita Hernandez to come up and tell us about that recognition, and then also to welcome some very special guests who are with us today as well. Ms. Hernandez.
All right. Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Scott, Regents, and Dr. Escamilla. It's with great pride that I invite the Veteran Services team up, starting with Dr. Jennifer Armentrout, Sergeant Major, retired Marine, Mr. Chris Arcega, Senior Chief Petty Officer, Navy, retired, Matthew Antonetz, prior Corporal, Marine, Daniel Esparza, prior Private First Class in the Army, Robin Romero, she's a 30-year military spouse of the Army, Nanette Ayala, she's our Veterans Affairs Specialist, and Sergio San Miguel, a Student Veteran Association Chapter President and prior Army Specialist. It's also my honor to introduce Mr. Scott Bauer, District Director for Representative Michael Cloud, is here to present the congressional recognition acknowledging dedication and assistance provided to the college's veteran students by its Veteran Services staff. This recognition is based on the colleges receiving the 2025 Gold Veteran Education Excellence Recognition Award from the Texas Veterans Commission in September and announced by Governor Greg Abbott. The award is given to applicants that demonstrate educational excellence and support services that significantly contribute to the academic success of student veterans and military-connected students. DMC is one of 33 higher education institutions and one of only 16 community colleges to receive this award. And this is the college's second, having received the bronze in 2022. So please join me in congratulating our team.
Yeah, it gives me great honor to be here with you guys today, and I just wanted to tell the Board of Regents that you have an excellent team behind to my right, as well as just everyone that works for this college. It's just amazing being a part of all such great people. And I get the honor today to present you guys for a lot of hard work that you guys deserve this certificate of recognition. On behalf of Michael Cloud, our congressman, who is actually in D.C. as I speak and say these words, or else he'd be here by himself here. But I get the honor to represent him and to do things like this, so it's amazing to have this opportunity. So thank you for all the hard work and really loving on those that love on our country and give all for all of us. So I appreciate that because I know it's a lot of effort. Talking to Jennifer, she said that over 2,000 students, even this last year, were veterans or veteran related. So that's just amazing. And it just shows a lot of y'all's hard work. And so we appreciate that. So today, a special congressional recognition to Del Mar College for receiving the 2025 Gold Veteran Education Excellence Recognition Award by the Texas Veterans Commission. Thank you for your exceptional education and services, contributing to the academic success of veteran and military-connected students. Sign your Congressman Michael Cloud. So thank you, Jennifer.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Congratulations to our Veteran Services team. You all do a fabulous job, not for the recognition, but because you love the veterans that come through our program. And so the recognition, we know, is a happy pat on the back, but we know that you do it because it's a job that is worthwhile and so important in our community and throughout the state and the nation. Thank you to Scott and Carrie for being here, and send our thanks to Congressman Cloud as well. We appreciate it. Congratulations again, team. All right, we're going to move a couple things, or just one thing around in the agenda. Our regular agenda item number 3, we are going to go ahead and take care of that up front so that our auditor can, who I think probably charges us by the hour, can get on back down the road, or up the road, I should say. So we're going to now go to our regular agenda item number 3, which is discussion and possible action regarding the college's internal audit activity, and Ms. Tammy McDonald is going to introduce that topic for us.
Thank you, Chair. So as we continue with our audit processes, Dan Graves, a partner with Weaver, he is going to present to you our FY25 internal audit plan, which includes a financial aid report, our proposed FY26 audit plan for 26, and then our FY25 annual plan that we close out the 25-year. We submit it to the state auditor's office. And what we did this time, since there was a short window of time between the last meeting and this meeting, in lieu of the audit committee meeting, the audit committee has deferred this report to the board as a whole. Okay. Thank you. Dan?
Thank you, and thank you for bumping me up. Yes, I do charge by the hour, but I don't charge you for sitting out there in the crowd. So, as Tammy mentioned, we do have, my presentation today is the wrap-up of all of our audits for fiscal year 2025 with the plan for 2026. And so, do we have our presentation? There we go. Thank you. So we have completed all the audits for this fiscal year. The last one that was outstanding was our financial aid audit. That report should be in your packet. We do have a status on maintenance that we have. We started that in 2025. We've moved to 26, and then our annual report. And so our financial aid audit, we have, like I said, it's in your packet. For the audit, we did issue a satisfactory rating on that. Just as for your memory, we have 3 ratings that we can issue, or that we do issue. One is strong, then we have satisfactory and unsatisfactory. So this received a satisfactory rating. The objectives were to look at the process of the internal, or of the financial aid office, to make sure that we're in compliance with the federal standards. Then we tested those federal standards as our next objective, and then we tested access for what personnel are allowed to do in the system. We finalized that report earlier this month after getting management responses back. We do have 4 findings. 3 of those are risk rated as moderate, 1 is high. Finding 1 really centered around the communication of the policies. So we have policies and procedures that are drafted and established, but not necessarily widely known. And so better communication of those throughout the financial aid office will help ensure compliance. Findings 2 and 3 were centered around some compliance issues with testing. There's very specific provisions that are listed in the federal financial aid standards that are published by the Department of Education. And so when we looked at those in our sampling, we had a few instances of non-compliance, which are pretty typical when we do these audits. I think this is the 6th different financial aid audit that we've done for higher education in Texas in general. And so these types of findings we do find from time to time, just given the volume. There is a margin of error. Nothing that overly concerned me, but it is something that we do bring to management's attention so that they can address. And then in finding 4, we did have some user access. Out of the lot of users, we did have 9 personnel. That was 84 total users, and 9 had access that didn't align with their job functions. So we identified those, and management's already remediated those, or at least they've represented that to us. So management's responded to all those findings. We didn't have any issues with the management's response or the timing for their response. We felt like it was appropriate, and so those are the overall results for the financial aid audit. I can pause quickly for any questions that you might have about the report or the findings. If none, I'll move on. Our maintenance, we've talked about this a few times, so just as a refresher, this is the scope, really looking at the combination of, and our objectives, the combination of where maintenance, deferred maintenance, and capital projects all intersect, how that's planned, how that's prioritized, and how the college executes those plans. So we have completed our initial discovery. We started that in August. We are working our way through testing, and it is ongoing this month. We do hope to wrap that up before the end of November is what we anticipate there. So that takes us, that's the status and completion of the 25 plan, with the exception of the annual report, which I'll talk about next. But I wanted to talk about our proposed plan for fiscal 26 because that goes into our fiscal year 25 report. And so what I'll ask for approval today is our proposed plan for our fiscal year 26. So that includes the continuation of our maintenance audit. We also have 3 audits that are new to the plan. One is our Senate Bill 17 compliance. So we did a Senate Bill 17 compliance in fiscal year 25. We will continue to do that on an annual basis at management's request. As the state auditor's office goes and produces new findings for other colleges and universities that they've audited, we are adapting our procedures to make sure we incorporate everything that they are examining at other places. And so we will have a continuation of that audit and expand those procedures for some of the items that we've identified that the SAO is covering. Then we also have proposed audits for grant compliance, and then our institutional research and reporting, really focusing on data report validation for things such as enrollment numbers or other key metrics that the college uses on a regular basis, ensuring that we have appropriate data validation for reporting. And so those are the proposed audits for this year, including follow-ups for financial aid, the minor open findings for bursar's office, and accounts payable and disbursements. So we have those 3 follow-ups with our other project management annual reporting and board reporting. So any questions about what's proposed on the annual report or for the fiscal year 25 or 26 plan? If none, our fiscal year 25 report should also be in your packet. This is a report that we issue every year. The state auditor's office mandates what's included in the report. There's 7 sections. Many of those are just disclosures of our internal audit activity for this year and our proposed plan for next year. Section 1 is a compliance disclosure that the college will post the annual report on the website. The next section is the status of our 25 plan. Then we disclose any consulting services that we've provided for the college. Then there's a disclosure also on the external auditor, who the external auditor is for the college. Then it is our quality assurance review, so your audit of your auditors. So that's in your report. You'll see that we got the highest rating of pass from our peer review. Then our 26 plan that we just covered, and the final section is a disclosure on how the college handles fraud, waste, and abuse. So pretty standard, nothing changed from the prior years for community colleges. And so the 2 big things I'll ask for today is the fiscal year 26 plan approval, and then the approval of this. When I receive this approval, we'll file it with the state auditor's office, as Ms. McDonald mentioned. So any questions about that report or any of the other contents I've reported today? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for being here today. So the recommendation from staff is that the board accept the internal auditor's report that includes the proposed fiscal year 26 plan as well as the fiscal year 25 annual report.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Loeb. Second by Dr. Adami. Any other questions or comments? Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed, same sign. That motion passes unanimously. Thanks,
Thank you very
Daniel.
much.
Good to see you. All right, we will go back to our president's report. And Dr. Escamilla has a required report and then a couple of conversational reports.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Chair. Regents, I bring to you the CEO Annual Report for Title IX, Senate Bill 212. I have to read verbatim the report, and it is just an FYI. There is no need for accepting or so forth. I just have to formally read this in a board meeting, and here I go. For the purpose of complying with the Chief Executive Officer's reporting requirements under Texas Education Code, Section 51.253C, concerning sexual harassment, sexual assault, dating violence, or stalking, as defined in the Texas Education Code, Section 51.251, and any disciplinary actions taken under Texas Education Code, Sections 51.255, the summary data report provided to the Board of Regents includes all of the required reporting information to the Del Mar College Board for the time of the period of September 1, 2024 through August 31, 2025. This summary report that is submitted will be posted to the Del Mar College Internet website as required under Texas Education Code Section 51.252. A Chief Executive Officer annual certification will also be submitted to the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board by October 31st of this year to certify compliance. Okay, any questions?
Any questions for Dr. Escamilla?
Hearing none, two other items that I'd like to report to you on September 10th. A big group of us, a healthy group of us, attended the Texas A&M Corpus Christi State of the University. This is we do every year. We support this gathering every year, but this year was especially celebratory because we were able to talk about the combined architecture program, of which is soon to be finally certified by the coordinating board and so forth. So we were able to celebrate that with Dr. Miller and our friends and colleagues at the university. So thank you all for those who were able to attend. And then on September 17th, the American GI Forum, Dr. Hector P. Garcia Day Luncheon was held at our Oso Creek campus, as is customary and part of Hispanic Awareness Month, and as a kickoff there and so forth. It was a wonderful, wonderful time, great friends, fellowship, and always great food to go along with that celebration. That concludes my report. I'll answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for Dr. Escamilla?
Thank you. Thank you.
So we will move on to our Regents report. Regents wanted to make you aware that over the next month, the San Patricio County Appraisal District Board of Election process has begun. If we would like to submit a nomination to the San Patricio Appraisal District Board of Directors, we have until October 24th to do so. At our November meeting, we would be considering that ballot for action, and we only have a small number of votes, as you all recall. And I'll report to you that the Nueces County Appraisal District process follows that same time period. So we will also be at our November meeting looking at those potential votes as well. So just wanted to report that to you. Also wanted to give the opportunity for the members of the board who attended the Community College Association of Texas Trustees Conference, the opportunity to report on that. So I'm going to start with Dr. Adami, and then we'll go to Regent Kelly, and then Dr. Battley.
Yeah, you know, when you attend these conferences, you know, you're amazed at how much Del Mar is in line to what they're discussing 100% of the time. You know, it's about student success and governance, you know, are the most important things. Student success depends on how well we connect governance to everyday experience. What does the student need? These are topics that were taken up pretty much and touched up on every one of the topics that we've seen throughout the two or 3 days. It's always a great experience when we go to them because we see how well Del Mar is keeping up with the trend of higher education. As trustees, our duty extends beyond governance. It's the promise to strengthen the bridge between education and opportunity. So this is what Del Mar does all the time. And so, we're, as trustees from Del Mar, we're proud to be there, especially when we have our own. Augie, he gave a real good a seminar on ethics, yes. and so we talked about ethics and the way we do it as a board, and this is something we renew every year. So yeah, we're always looking forward to these state conferences as well as the national conferences.
Thank you, Dr. Dami. Regent Kelly?
I think it was interesting, the emphasis that we were seeing in this particular program about how dynamic circumstances are for junior colleges. We've already seen how funding is changing and focusing on credentials of value. I was struck by how much involvement how involved the state has gotten in curriculum, some of which may be good. How we're expected to be more aligned with K through 12 curriculum, with emphasis on dual credit. Several of the schools who gave presentations talked about their enhanced presence on K through 12 campuses. At football games, one school is sponsoring science fairs at the high school level. Another one was actually trying to elicit pledges from their dual credit students to go on to education beyond high school, either certificates of credit or degrees. But I think that the emphasis needs to be on how nimble junior colleges have to be now. They were very clear that credentials of credit is going to be a moving target. And so we have to be prepared to move as the ground shifts beneath us.
Thank you, Regent Kelly. Dr. Babley?
So when we go to these conferences, you see the plenary and the program printed out, and Del Mar is prominently present in the sessions. That says that these are the authorities. We have the chairman of the board, we have the president, and our council sprinkled all over the sessions. And then when we attend, when our representatives are talking, everybody's taking notes and we're just chilling out like, yeah, we know that. We've been there, type of thing. Which prompted actually Regent Bill Kelly to say, we're Del Mar, damn it. I'm sorry about that, to say that. But so we thought we would print a T-shirt on that, what a slogan. But we were really proud. I mean, it was kind of spontaneous reaction. Sorry, Bill, I put you on the spot. But that's the way we felt like, man, we are on it. We have been doing this type of thing. I'm very proud to say, I'm sure, Dr. Adamya thinks the same way. So there's some takeaways in the governance, compliance, and risk, which Council Rivera led the plenary session. It's very important for our college or any college in the state of Texas that we have a highly informed board. I think that's one thing which a lot of colleges are not doing. I've talked to some private conversations. Board sometimes is clueless, but ours, we are very, very fortunate to have a collection of 9 regents who are on top of state issues, national issues, and been constantly discussing about the ethical issues and the importance of local decision making. I think that's one of the takeaways. The second one is the workforce initiatives that are happening at the state level. the Texas Education Agency and the THAC, Texas Higher Education Board, they're all aligning to have how universities, colleges, and community colleges are aligned, including the Texas Education Agency, the high schools, are aligned for the future workforce development. Because the industries are changing so fast, technologically, with AI. In fact, they were suggesting that every college should have an AI task force on the campus that needs to be looking at, literally on a day-to-day basis, what kind of changes are coming up. And there are pros and cons of that. But that's something the task force on the campus zeroing in on AI should be concentrating on. And also institutional strategies for emerging occupations. That was the takeaway for me, is what kind of occupations are in high demand and how are they changing in the future. They pointed out health sciences, nursing, and skilling. Especially AI industry in the future will depend on electricians and welders. I was really surprised about that. I said, what? No software, no engineer, no computers? No, welders and electricians will be the driving force behind AI development. And so that's something that we need to be cognizant of, and how we can shape our curriculum, our offerings, and things like that in the future. So those are the takeaways from me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Babbly. I have my evolving understanding after 10 years plus of going to these conferences is the appreciation of when staff goes to your individual department or your area of specialty, you go to your professional development conferences. Certainly, Dr. Escamilla and his administrative staff go to the TAC meetings as well as AACC at the national level, and how important it is that we as Regents do that same kind of work, so that as we are evolving this work that will never end, called community college education in Corpus Christi, Texas, and in our region, we are all learning and spiraling up in that conversation. And so that's what this conference was about for me, is recognizing we had higher attendance than we've ever had at a CAT conference, and we actually had more funding from sponsorships that were there. And so they had a kind of a trade show booth area in the lobby. And so for us to understand some of the vendors that are out there, what you all are hearing, so we hear it from our perspective. Dr. Escamilla then brings something, staff brings an idea up, and we have done some of our own education around those topics as well. So the evolution of what we're doing, and as in most cases with AI and other changes in the traditional economy of Texas, as well as the evolving economy of Texas, we're going to have to spiral up our learning as well. So for me, that was kind of the big, broader takeaway of that work. So thank you all for the opportunity to attend, and for Del Mar College's continuing commitment to the state associations for both us and for our regents and trustees.
May I ask a question? Yeah, thank you to those who could attend. I'm curious whether Dr. Babbly mentioned local control. Were there any sessions, or was there any discussion about perhaps the changing nature of local control and how that's balanced with some of the state mandates that have come our way? And is it still respected? And can we hope to retain local control?
So I'll answer that, and then certainly encourage Dr. Adami or Regent Kelly or Babbly to answer as well. That is, it's on the periphery of everything that we do. So whether you say it's an underpinning of conversation or it's on the periphery of those conversations, but there's recognition that our role as elected leaders is going to become more and more important in that conversation with our fellow elected officials at the state level. And so I think you're going to see that out of our CAT Legislative Committee, some of those kinds of discussions, and we will be the ones to push that. To be quite honest with you, TAC, as the CEOs and chancellors across the state, aren't going to be the ones to push governance kinds of discussions. They're going to be in the nitty-gritty of the funding formulas and those kinds of things. If we want to push governance kinds of discussions at the state level, it's going to be incumbent upon the CAT organization to do that. So I'll let anybody else respond to that if they'd like to.
That's what I gathered. I think there seems to be respect for grassroots decision-making process at the state level. At the same time, it's taken for granted, or they pass over it when important issues are being discussed. So we probably need to be more proactive as regions to make sure our representatives and our organizations in Austin know about how we think, what we think are important issues at our level here. So I think we probably need to be at least conscious of that, process.
I observed I almost say tension, but I could see why the state wants to align K through 12 with early college. But at the same time that I'm hearing that we need to customize certificates of obligation to the exact needs of local industry, and I'm not certain how those two concepts are completely reconciled. So it very much seems in flux to me.
Any other questions? Thank you. On the heels of the CAT conference, I flew to Washington, D.C. and was met there by Dr. Natalie Villarreal to participate in the Coastal Bend to D.C. trip that was sponsored by the United Corpus Christi Chamber of Commerce. There were 70-ish people that attended the 2.5-day fly-in to D.C. Dr. Villarreal and I participated in the workforce education issues group. So there were 7 or 8 different issues group that went around and focused on meetings relevant to their particular issue. We were fortunate enough, Bert Quintanillo chaired our issues group, and he arranged for us to meet with the legislative director for Representative Virginia Fox out of North Carolina, and we're able to talk with her legislative director. We were a very robust conversation with the staff person for the chair of the House Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee. Her name was Isabel Soto, and Ms. Soto has a very deep and nuanced understanding of our issues at the national level, so that was a great conversation. We could actually talk about the issues very specifically and not have to say, this is how community colleges are different than universities. It was a really in-depth conversation with Ms. Soto and was, I think, very productive. We're able to meet with Representative Vicente Gonzalez, as that district is now moving up into our service area. We wanted to introduce ourselves to Representative Gonzalez, realizing he's not our representative yet, but we'll take all the friends we can get. But whoever wins that election for that district is now going to include Del Mar College in their service area. And then on the second day, I was able to attend and bring Dr. Villarreal with me with kind of the leadership group, the mayor and folks from the county, and the Port, and Dr. Kelly Miller from A&M Corpus Christi to meet in person with Senators Cruz and Cornyn and Representative Cloud to talk specifically about our issues. And we were able to thank them for the funding that came from the House Reconciliation Bill for workforce-related Pell, but then we were also able to get into some additional details about other things that we wanted. And so it was I felt like Del Mar College had 6 very, very productive meetings on behalf of our issues, and I think that was time well spent, and appreciate Dr. Villarreal being there with me. We arranged the staff reports the way we did so that Dr. Villarreal could come up and give you a more substantial overview from a federal legislative update standpoint. So as she's coming up, if anybody has any questions for me on our DC trip, hold them and Natalie will answer them at the end. So
Thank
we'll
you,
move
Chair
into
Scott.
staff reports. Dr. Villarreal.
Chair Scott, Dr. Escamilla, Regents, good afternoon. Again, we were blessed to be able to spend a couple of days on the Hill with the Coastal Bend area, which was really excellent. This was the first time that the Chamber divvied us up into the specific work groups, and it went extremely well because we were able to really focus on those higher education and workforce pieces that were really critical. We also had Dr. Kelly Miller with us, which was an integral part of the day because we were able to tag team and kind of feed off of each other about the importance of things like Pell Grants and higher education reauthorization. So it was a really impressive trip. We had a really great time. Today, I just wanted to spend a few minutes talking to you about some specific areas at the federal level. There's a lot of noise. There's a lot of chatter. There's a lot going on right now. So I just wanted to focus on there's some changes in leadership that affect community colleges, then talk a little bit about the priorities at the federal level and the advocacy work that we did those couple of days and the work that's continuing, and then talk a little bit about what's next. In terms of changes for our leadership, the American Association of Community Colleges has a new leader after 15 years. Dr. Walter Bumpus, who I know is a dear friend of Dr. Escamilla's and was a significant advocate for community colleges, stepped down this summer, and Dr. Darion Pollard has resumed that position. She is the counter to, for the trustees, your federal levels, Jihang Lee. So I believe when you go in October, November to ACCT, you'll probably get a chance to meet Dr. Pollard there as well. And again, the significance, you can hear the day-to-day challenges that our students are facing and how these high-level laws really do trickle down at the end of the day and can be challenging, they can be uplifting for our faculty and staff as they're working with our students day to day. So again, really significant. We're really excited to have Dr. Pollard leading AACC and see what she does with that. Another significant change has been with the Department of Education. So, last year we started hearing about the administration wanting to close the department. Since then, we've had our Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon, come in. And she's decreased the size of the department considerably. But although the staff is small, they are still there, and they are still focusing on pretty significant priorities. So what happened this August is Mr. Nicholas Kent came in under appointment of President Trump. And why is Mr. Kent so important to us here at Del Mar College? Because he is going to oversee all of the post-secondary education. He oversees career, technical, and adult education, as well as federal student financial aid. So this is going to be a really significant piece. As the Department of Education continues to move forward, again, you can see how significant this continues to be for us. So I had the opportunity to stay in DC and hear Mr. Kent speak. And the key takeaway that he talked about was continuing that idea of we want to build a nation of leaders. That's not really anything new. That continues to be the same. The question is, how are we going to do that? And for Mr. Kent, under the leadership of the president, brought up several areas. Number one, concern for fraudulent enrollment. That seems significant on their list. Low value credentials for underdeveloped students. Paying for things that weren't necessarily given the ROI back at the federal level. And then also really focusing on financial aid. and the challenges that can happen with fraud within the financial aid system. So those are the current things that the Department of Education is really focusing on right now. Does anybody have any questions about that? So looking at the priorities at the federal level, again, the president has called for Congress to raise the debt ceiling, and I believe we're in day 14 right now of our current shutdown. As Carrie and I mentioned earlier, Congressman Cloud is back in D.C. I believe they're gaveling in at 2 o'clock this afternoon, so maybe by the time we get home today, there will be some signs of movement by the government. But from the community college standpoint, again, if we look at funding, one thing that Regent Scott and I were able to talk about with our legislators is the importance of the Pell Grant. So even though we do have Workforce Pell, and we're very excited about that, the challenge is that Pell Grant continues to need to keep moving forward. Again, prices are rising. Our students are needier now than more than ever. So yes, it seems we're still fighting about Pell Grant. We're not fighting, we're still advocating on behalf of our students and making sure that Pell Grant is staying. There's concerns right now with not only Pell Grant, but our other programs that really support our students. A TRIO, Pell, Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. All of those programs right now are really being scrutinized, and again, to make sure that return on investment is there. At the federal level, they're really wanting to see, again, workforce is that key term that's being used. And then in terms of rulemaking right now, so yay, we've got Workforce Pell. It'll come into effect in July of 26, but now with that comes significant details and the rulemaking right now. So the Department of Education is going to be putting together that subcommittee to go through that, and then they will be taking questions from their constituents, and they are appointing people as we speak. So stay tuned on that. We'll see what Workforce Pell is going to look like, and then what that looks like with financial aid. Does anybody have questions about that? So a little later today, you're going to hear about our TRIO programs and things that are happening for us at the federal level. So we're really excited to know that Del Mar College is in really good position. But we know that right now the federal government is going back. So they're backtracking a few years to everybody's grant applications. So if there's anything that's heavily focused on diversity, equity, inclusion, anything DEI, there are some colleges that are losing their funding. Right now, as far as we know, Del Mar College is safe, and our funding is going to continue. And so as part of our advocacy work, we will continue working on that as well. One big piece, every time I hand you an advocacy sheet with the legislative priorities, you see the Higher Education Reauthorization Act since 2008. That has been needed to be updated. And so what we learned while we were there is that unfortunately we don't have major players right now that are advocating at the federal level that really have that clout to pass such a large bill on behalf of higher education. So what we're seeing now is some smaller bills that are going through, but we don't have people. Regent Scott, I know you probably remember Senator Alexander. He was a big, big advocate for the community colleges, was really pushing that, and then he retired. I believe he was 85 years old. He stepped aside. And so right now, you're going to just keep seeing the need for that to be updated. There just isn't the appetite for it right now. So, does anybody have any questions on the federal priorities? Yes, sir, Regent.
I just want to make a comment really quick because you brought up the issue on how much value different degrees or certificates have. And one of the things I've noticed in their math that I think we really need to point out is they always count time in school as time away from making money, in that math. And when you actually look at what our students do with their time, the vast majority are working. And that's true of community college students all over the country. And so it is grossly unfair to act like if they are in school for 2 or 4 years, they are not earning income, because they are. I mean, there's statistical information that says that they are. And so I think when we see that, we really need to push back on it, because I think that's kind of the first, the first act. I mean, I saw that in the state data where they were saying, well, the cost of their education is, 4 years of not earning any income. Well, that's not true, because they're all earning an income. They're all taking care of themselves and their family, and usually, in a lot of cases, kids. So I just wanted to point that out and say that.
Thank you. Yeah, one of the challenges too at the federal level is that when they're taking into account, they're not taking just completers into account. They're taking into account people who've started the degree but didn't finish. So that can negatively impact, again, the way that the data is looked at. And so that's definitely some important pieces that we'll continue to advocate for. So regarding advocacy work, so when we went to DC, there were a couple of things that we really wanted to focus on. So again, going back to the Pell Grant, there hasn't been a change in the Pell Award amount in a few years. And so again, that was the focus, along with Workforce Pell in the last couple of years. Can we continue to increase Pell, a couple of $100 every semester, every year, just so that our students are able to keep up with the increase of demands? And then also, in thinking about Pell Grant, we know that they've got about 1.6 million students that receive Pell, and those are just our community college students. So that really goes to show you the significant amount of individuals who are needing the support. And for the federal government, that comes out to about $6 billion a year annually, just to give you an idea. One major piece that we coordinated with A&M Corpus on as we were talking with individuals was, if you've seen in the news right now, minority serving institutions are really under review right now by the administration. They would like those designations dissolved. So a part of our advocacy work was Regent Scott being able to say, we understand that the HSI now is becoming the norm. So how do we make sure that those students are still being served? So if you're not going to do it from an ethnicity standpoint, can we do it from an economically disadvantaged standpoint? Because there are still so many students out there. So thank you, Regent Scott. I thought that was very poignant because she was able to speak to them in terms that say, we get it, we understand. However, how can we work to change to make sure our students are still getting the support that they received? So with ourselves and with Texas A&M Corpus, I feel like we were able to make a really good impact that day.
So I'll just piggyback on that. So if the conversation is going to move away from minority serving institutions and the students of need being defined in that way, what I was advocating for was what the state of Texas has done in terms of economically disadvantaged, academically disadvantaged, or adult learners. And so can we describe the potential supports that students described in another way might be coming to community colleges and needing that additional work? And so I think that was heard. I don't know how much that'll get incorporated, but we did have a couple of individuals, including Ms. Soto, ask for follow-up and how the state has defined those in our weighted system of funding now. So that I think is a potential way of still being able to support students who need support, even when the language to describe those students is changing.
I have
Yes,
one
sir.
observation, just Dr. Villarreal. When you were discussing the minority serving institutions, was Senator Cruz there, or what, are you keeping abreast with? Is he keeping abreast with what are the discussions, and do you get a reading of which way is leaning and how these things happen? Because HBCUs also have the dilemma, but HSI and HBCUs kind of they're not really together.
Yes.
When it comes to minority serving institutions discussions, at least.
Correct. In fact, the HBCUs are not losing the funding
And that's
that the other minority serving institutions are. So you're correct. There is a difference.
You wonder why they're separate, or HBCUs are excluded from these discussions, or?
Yeah, I don't know why exactly they were being, why there's a difference and why their appropriations will stay the same. I know we did get a chance to speak with Senator Cruz in a small group. And Regent Scott, I know you were able to speak to him specifically about some of the advocacy work.
So I brought the same topic up in front of Senator Cruz and Senator Cornyn. They were very respectful in their responses. Of course, they don't give away their position on things until they are at a point where they feel like they are ready to do so or vote on something. So that, but they were respectful and listened to what I had to say. So
Okay.
that's well.
And I think a big part of our advocacy work is knowing that. And when we were getting kind of all of our pieces together and getting organized for the morning, a part of the advocacy work really is how do you speak to an individual who you know has a different priority or different sense of where they would like to see things going, and how are you able to use their language and what they hold as valuable to able to advocate, for your entity. So for example, for us, it really does focus around workforce and in our local economy and getting the state and the nation to where it needs to be. We had the Port of Corpus Christi in the room with us, which was really significant for those high-level meetings, and that was really significant having an employer there as well. So the last area that we focused on was our workforce development and our adult basic education and career and technology education piece, because that is also being looked at right now, and the current administration is not sure if they want to continue that funding. And so a big part for community colleges is saying, yes, we absolutely need that funding, and we're going to keep reminding them why we need that, why our students need that, and how important it is for our colleges. As Regent Scott mentioned, Texas is being looked at right now because of the HB8 funding. So after we returned from DC, the follow-up was emailing them all of that information in terms of credentials, what a credential of value is, and what the funding looks like for Texas and community colleges. It is now being looked at the federal level. So let's see what happens today at 2 o'clock, and if our government can get back on track. Does anybody have any questions? Comments?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
And I think maybe this news came out after you all returned, but the news about the pledge or commitment that the president asked for from a number of universities across the country,
Yes.
And that the University of Texas was all over it and happy to consider it, others not so much. Was there any, maybe not discussion of that since it happened afterward, but have we heard anything about how that may trickle down to community colleges if it will?
I have not yet. Dr. Escamilla? No.
Not heard anything as it relates to how it may affect us so far.
Okay.
But I'll keep my ear to the track on that. I'm watching it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Villarreal. All right, keeping on with our staff reports, we will hear an update on the Nueces County Appraisal District from Mr. Raul Garcia.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Mr. President, members of the Board of Regents. Before our special guest provides an update on the Nueces Appraisal District, I'd like to offer a brief context for today's discussion. In 2023, the Texas legislature passed Senate Bill 2 as part of a broader property tax reform initiative. The legislation introduced significant changes to governance of appraisal districts across the state with the goal of increasing transparency and accountability in the property tax appraisal process. One key reform was the expansion of the appraisal district's board from 5 to as many as 9 members. Previously, all board members were appointed. Today, 2 members are elected by voters, while the remaining are appointed by participating taxing units such as Del Mar College. In keeping up with the spirit of transparency and accountability of Senate Bill number 2, the college has invited its appointee to the Nueces County Appraisal District to share an update. It is my pleasure to introduce Ms. Deanne Hevelin, who was appointed by Del Mar College Board of Regents during the November 2023 meeting to serve on the Board of Nueces Tax Appraisal District. Her term officially began on January 1st, 2024. I also recently learned that she is a co-founder of Yellowfin, a full-service digital marketing agency where she specializes in crafting tailored digital marketing solutions that amplify online visibility and drive sustainable growth. It is her entrepreneur spirit and leadership that brings a valuable perspective to the board of the Nueces County Appraisal District. Ms. Hevelin will now provide an update.
Welcome, Ms. Evelyn. Thank you for being here today. I know that you're no longer officially our appointee, but you
Yes.
started that way, so.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you, Chairperson Scott. Thank you, Mr. Garcia. Hi, Dr. Escamilla and fellow regents. So like Mr. Garcia said, my name's Deanna Hevelin. I'm currently serving on the Nueces County Appraisal District. My term, this was the very first time that we've had anything like this, so we did draw lots, and I will be serving through the end of 2027. So I hope to see you all fairly regularly in that time period. So I was invited today to share a brief update on the operations of the appraisal district, what's going on there, and the work we're doing on behalf of the taxpayers and for our entities. So we recently did adopt our new 2025-2026 operating budget with the help of our interim chief appraiser, Ms. Maureen. She, with fresh eyes, was able to help us make some significant cuts in our operating budget while maintaining the quality, accuracy, and transparency that the taxpayers expect from us. It's also important to note, I was asked about this, our funding mechanism. It's statutorily required through the Comptroller's office, so we're not actually funded by taxpayers or by the property taxes collected, but by our entities. So we can have further discussion about that in our next meeting, but just so you know, your participation directly supports the equitable and transparent appraisal process that underpins the funding for our schools, infrastructure, and essential public services. As I think all of you know, our chief appraiser, Ronnie Canales, was placed on administrative leave earlier this year. We've since learned that he is going to retire at the end of this fiscal year. So our top priority as the board is now searching for a new chief appraiser. Under the Texas law, the chief appraiser must be already a registered professional appraiser and ultimately obtain the certified chief appraiser designation through the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation. So because of these strict requirements, the position is highly specialized, requiring not only the technical expertise in appraisal standards and property tax law, but also the strong leadership and management skills to run the day-to-day at the appraisal district. So like I said, finding these right candidates and ultimately selecting that individual is of our top priority currently. One thing that we could use some help with from you all or from the community is that we're going to have several ARB openings in the coming months. So the ARB is the Appraisal Review Board, and they are an independent citizen panel. They directly report to the tax liaison officer, and they're not associated with the actual district or the board, which safeguards the impartiality and accountability in the process. So they hear and resolve taxpayer protests, helping ensure that all property owners receive fair and impartial consideration. Their busy season is through the summer, but we are taking applications now for appointments in the winter and in the spring. Of course, as all of you know, we try to stay in contact from the appraisal district staff and Del Mar staff with any legislative updates that would have an impact on your budget. And what I would commit as a board member, and I think I can speak for all of the board members, is that we recognize that any significant appraisal changes, valuation shifts, or litigation would be very relevant information for you all for your budget planning. And we would like to continue to stay in contact with you all with any concerns that you have or any information that you think we can provide you. So in closing, like I told you, my term will run through the end of 2027, and I'm always available to answer any questions that you might have individually or from staff or as a whole of the Regents.
Thank you very much for being here. Who are the current officers of the board?
Kevin Kieschnick, so he's actually our appraiser collector. So he had served, one of the legislative updates from the past session was that they were always an ex officio member. They're now full voting members, and our board voted him in as the chair. So they're one-year terms. So until December, the end of December, he will serve as our chair, and Devin Bokta is our co-chair, or
Vice chair.
Vice chair, yes ma'am.
Great. Any other questions for Ms. Heavlin?
I just wanted to make a comment that thank you very much for stepping up and doing this. I know our reports from staff, and I think, me personally, I felt a lot more comfortable with how things have been going. They seem to be getting better. And I really appreciate y'all's willingness to talk about what's going on and work towards fixing it rather than waiting for it to explode in our or other people's faces. And so your willingness to communicate and come and talk to us and our staff, both here and privately, is really appreciated. And really thank you for doing what you do. And if you can send us the link for people to sign up for ARB, I'm sure we'll all help, because we want a fair process that feels fair to people. And having good people who are engaged and willing to do that is really important. So thank you for everything you do.
Thank you. I agree, and I'll get that sent to you all.
Great. Any other questions? Thanks again for being
Thank
here.
you.
Appreciate it. All right, we're going to invite Cheryl Sanders up to give us a report on our TRIO Student Services Grant.
Good afternoon, Chair Scott, Regents, Dr. Escamilla. The federal TRIO programs are outreach and student service programs designed to identify and provide services for individuals from disadvantaged backgrounds. They were established by the Higher Education Act of 1965 to increase college access, graduation, and success among limited income individuals. They are referred to as TRIO programs because they were initially only 3 programs. And the name has continued to be used even though the programs have expanded now to 8. Student Support Services is the most extensive and expansive program promoting college persistence for low-income students, providing a variety of supports necessary for the students to persist and ultimately graduate from college. I'm delighted to share that the college applied for and received not 1, but 2 Student Support Services grants this year. First, we received the traditional TRIO Student Support Services grant. This award marks the continuation of 5 consecutive years of TRIO Student Support Services on our campus. This is a 5-year grant totaling $1,361,820, which will be used to serve 160 students per year. Since 2020, the program has served over 825 students on our campus, helping them persist in their education, earn degrees, and build meaningful careers. Second, we received the TRIO Student Support Services STEM grant. This is also a 5-year grant totaling $1,361,820, funded to serve 120 participants. This marks the first time that Del Mar College has received the TRIO SSS STEM grant. This is a competitive 5-year grant. This underscores the college's commitment to educational access and success. To participate in these programs, students must meet eligibility requirements, which are mandated by the U.S. Department of Education. Participants must be currently enrolled U.S. citizens or permanent residents. Participants for both programs need to either be first generation, they need to meet federal low-income guidelines, or have a documented physical or learning disability. For the traditional TRIO program, SSS, students can have any major. They can be majoring in anything. But for the STEM SSS, they have to be majoring in a science, technology, engineering, math, or health-related field. The SSS STEM program provides identical services. Both of these provide identical services, such as academic coaching and tutoring, information and guidance on completing the federal application for financial aid, finding scholarships, and financial planning. Projects may also provide grant aid to current participants in need, assistance with career exploration, planning, and connecting with mentors, also support for students who plan to transfer to 4-year institutions. one-on-one and group sessions to address challenges and needs, and then workshops to enhance study skills, college readiness, cultural enrichment, and financial literacy. I would like to invite Mr. Valton Stinson to the podium with me. In addition to being a part of the grant writing team, Mr. Stinson will now serve as director of both of these grants, which he is exceptionally qualified for because he has over 16 years experience working with TRIO programs. Mr. Stinson, would you like to also introduce the staff that are here today?
Oh, okay. So, Tanya Bergstrom. Tanya Bergstrom, she's a TRIO student support service coordinator. And then there's Valerie Cifuentes. She's our admin assistant for both programs. And then our new hire is Isabella Chapa. She's a coordinator for TRIO student support service. No, I don't have
Okay. I put him on the spot. To wrap up, we're currently working with Human Resources to quickly get the positions posted for the new SSS STEM grant and subsequently hire candidates. That concludes this report. Do we have any questions?
I have a question. Just wanted to say congratulations. Great work. And on behalf of our students. Mr. Curl, do you have a question?
Well, not a question, it's a comment. I saw somewhere in some news article where in the federal budget, the TRIO program was subject to some cuts.
Yes.
Will that affect the ongoing viability of this program?
Yeah, that's what Dr. Villarreal was speaking about earlier. So they have had substantial cuts. However, we have been lucky. The 2 grants that we have, 3 grants, because we have another one, EOC, they are fine right now. That's all I can say is they are fine right now.
For this year?
For the years that we're funded.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
For the period of the funding that's been proposed.
Okay.
As we understand, the grants are safe for the period of time and the amount for what they projected, what they've agreed to. Yes.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
So, Ms. Sanders, since by next year the U.S. Department of Education is no longer going to be in existence, right? So how do you see TRIO moving to? Who's going to administer these grants and which department?
Yeah. We just attended a COE conference in Chicago last month, Mr. Stinson and I, and there was a lot of talk about that. They're talking about moving it to, it's up in the air, but moving it to another area is all that's being said right now.
Okay.
What percentage of our students meet one of the qualifications? Ballpark.
It's always 2/3. So one of our objectives is 2/3 of our population has to be first generation or low income, and then there's either or they can be low income only or both students who are 504 or students with a disability.
Well, I meant on our total student body.
Oh, on a campus? Oh, sorry.
Well, everyone that's Pell eligible will definitely be qualified. I think that's what we look at.
80, 90%, right? Mm-hmm. If you do the Pell and then add on, right?
Yes.
So it's virtually almost all of our students
almost
can benefit from this. Great. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Again, thanks for the hard work and congratulations. I know that you're excited to have not just 1 but 2 grants now.
Yes,
That's
ma'am.
wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. We're going to bring up Mr. Jeff Olson, who is going to lead the discussion or start the discussion and then turn it over to Jesse, I guess, on the brand health survey.
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon, Regents, Chair Scott, Dr. Escamilla. Part of our strategic marketing and communication plan includes frequent check-ins of how our community really perceives us here at Del Mar College. A great way to do that is through brand health surveys. So they tell you where you stand, they tell you where the opportunities are for growth. We recently completed one of these brand health surveys in collaboration with MDR. And I believe we have Quentin Smithwick here from MDR in case there are any questions about methodology in the survey. Quentin, if you want to wave to everybody so they know. Thank you for joining us. But I'm going to ask our Executive Director of Communications, Jessie Krobosinski, to come up here because she led the effort with MDR and she's going to walk us through some of the highlights. So Jessie, I'm going to turn it over to you. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chairwoman Scott, Dr. Escamilla, and members of the board. Today, I will be walking you through the highlights from our recent brand health survey that was conducted by MDR Advertising this summer. The purpose was to understand how different audiences view Del Mar College and identify where we can strengthen awareness, preference, and connection. So we'll cover 4 key areas: how the survey was defined and who participated, how we compare to regional competitors, familiarity and intent toward Del Mar College, and then key takeaways that inform our next steps in marketing, communication, and outreach. So this survey had 2 main goals. First, it was to understand how people perceive Del Mar College compared to other colleges in our region, and 2, to look deeper by audience segment so that we can see where our stronger opportunities for growth really are. So this shows what people associate with Del Mar College, how we compare to competitors, and what might hold them back from enrolling. But it also points us toward action, showing which messages resonate with which audiences, and that's where Jason Houlihan and Gracie Martinez's teams will come in, taking these insights and translating them into targeted enrollment marketing strategies that reach the right people with the right message at the right time. So the survey itself was adaptive, meaning the questions changed based on who was answering them. So a high school student, for example, would be responding to different questions than a parent or a working adult. We used a mix of multiple choice, ratings, and open-ended questions to get both solid data and real context. We reached 4,100 people across our service area, and after screening and cleaning up the data, we ended up with 349 qualified responses, and this is how it breaks down. So we have 23% of adults that are not enrolled in college and not working, 21% were working adults that are not looking to switch careers, 21% were working adults looking to switch their careers, 16% were college students, 12% were parents of high school students or recent graduates, and then 7% were high school students themselves. So altogether, this kind of represents a comprehensive community that Del Mar College serves, from high schoolers planning their next steps to adults that are exploring their career paths.
Jessie, when you say college student, do you mean college or university student?
Correct.
Okay,
yes.
Thank you.
So this slide shows how each audience group ranked their current life priority, things that are top of mind for them right now. So the 2 red bars that you see represent the highest priorities across all of the segments, which was supporting my family and improving my financial situation, both at which came at 44.5%. The dark navy blue bar that you see on the left shows the second highest, which was career advancement at 39.3%. So when you step back and take a look across all of the audiences, the story seems pretty consistent, that stability is the goal. People are focused on supporting their families, improving their finances, and advancing their careers. In other words, they're not just chasing education for education's sake, they're really looking for that upward mobility, and Del Mar College is one of the tools that can help them get there. However, when you break it down by segment, which isn't visually represented here, so I'll just tell you, the nuance is really interesting. So high school students ranked buying a car as their highest priority at 38%. So that tells us what they're focused on, right? Adults that are not working also showed a very different picture. Their top priorities were improving finances, 56%, personal growth and self-improvement, 35%, and gaining independence and stability at 34%. So while everyone is chasing stability, what that looks like depends entirely on their stage of life, and that's where our opportunity lies, framing Del Mar College not just as a college, but as a solution that can meet people to where they are and help them move forward. Yes.
On the survey, when you're looking at improving their finances and looking at career paths, was there any notions of what career they were interested in? Was there anything part of that survey of that next step?
No, that would be part of kind of what we carry on as next steps if we wanted to go deeper into those insights. Thank you.
So are we going to do a marketing tie-in with a car dealer to like raffle off a car to a student?
That yeah, I keep hearing that come up. So let me see where I'm at. Oh, okay. In this next section, we're going to look at how familiar people are with Del Mar College compared to other institutional regions. So in this chart, this shows how interest in education differs based on the audience segment. So high school students are the most degree-focused group. 75% of them say that they are interested in a college degree program. Parents of high school students also show a strong interest at 56%. And among adults that are not enrolled and not working, nearly half of them say that they're interested in pursuing education in the future. So overall, there's a consistent interest in continuing education. Again, it's just a matter of timing, flexibility, and life circumstances. Did I miss a slide? Okay, no. So when people took this survey, they didn't know that it was about Del Mar College until we get into some of the later segments. So for these questions, they were simply asked, which logo is most familiar to you, or which of the following colleges have you heard of in your region? And their responses were based purely on recognition, first by logo, just the icon, and then by institutional name. So this slide shows that Del Mar College leads in the region, both with logo and institutional awareness. Awareness of our new logo actually surpasses our old logo, which is really great validation of the rebrand. And then overall, nearly 86% of the respondents recognize Del Mar College, which puts us well ahead of other regional institutions. When we look at consideration for regional colleges, about 2/3 of people in the region say they have considered Del Mar College, and nearly half of them list us as their first choice. So that makes Del Mar College both the most considered and the most chosen college in the region. When we look at the segment data, it shows where we're strong and where we have room to grow. So adults not working and not enrolled are our biggest supporters. 73% of them said they would consider Del Mar, and 53% of them list us as their first choice. High school students unfortunately flipped that trend. Only 29% of them chose Del Mar College first, while 42% of them chose a four-year regional institution instead. So while we clearly lead in awareness and recognition and consideration, there is an opportunity to shift how those high school students view us and turn that strong awareness into a first choice preference. When we look at college rankings, this shows that Del Mar College ranks the highest in regional cost. You can see that the navy blue bar is us at the very top of each of the different categories. So we are leading with 62% of the respondents citing that affordability is our top strength. We also perform competitively with quality of education at 57% and reputation at 54%. They are both slightly behind four-year universities that benefit from that perceived prestige. But again, our next step is to keep reinforcing that affordability and quality go hand in hand, and that students don't have to choose between value and excellence at Del Mar College. Okay, in this next section, we're going to take a look at how familiar people are with Del Mar College and how likely they are to attend or recommend it. So this can help us see which audiences are most supportive and where we can help strengthen that intent to enroll. So here we're looking at overall familiarity and opinion of Del Mar College. On the left, you can see that about 2/3 of respondents say that they are familiar with Del Mar College. That shows a strong sense of awareness in our region. Only 12% said they were not familiar at all, and half of that group was made up of adults that are not enrolled and not working. The rest was kind of spread evenly amongst the other segments. Among high school students, 54% said that they were slightly familiar or not familiar at all. So again, this shows that this group has the lowest awareness overall, and one of our opportunities to help strengthen that connection with them.
Do these colors correspond with the colors from the previous slides?
No.
Gotcha. Okay.
Good question. With working adults that are looking to switch careers, they showed the highest familiarity. 75% of them said they are very or somewhat familiar with Del Mar College. And then when we shift to looking at the right side of the slide, the overall opinion of Del Mar College, you can see that the overall opinion, 87% of the respondents had a positive view of Del Mar College. That included, within each of the segments, 90% of working adults that are not looking to switch careers voted positively, 92% of parents of high school students voted positively, and 97% of adults that are not currently working or currently enrolled voted positively of Del Mar College. You can see that we have 0 rating of negative or very negative, and only 4% selected somewhat negative. That was split amongst college students, high school students, and working adults looking to switch careers. Overall, our reputation is overwhelmingly positive, but again, familiarity and favorability kind of drop amongst those high school students. Again, clearly highlighting the opportunity to strengthen our reach and connection with that segment, especially as we continue expanding academic outreach and engagement.
Question. On those that were neutral and somewhat negative, was there a spot for them to expand on their answers? Was there any qualitative pieces in the survey so you can kind of see why it was negative?
I think that's also part of digging in deeper.
Okay.
If we wanted to do a second follow-up focus group with those audience or those segments, we could find that information out. Okay, I really love this slide. This is the likelihood and intent to attend Del Mar College. Overall, the intent to attend is very strong. 72% of respondents said that they are likely or very likely to attend Del Mar College. When we break it down by segment, though, we do start to see some key differences. So parents of high school students, shown in that beautiful bright green, are our strongest advocates. 96% said that they would recommend Del Mar College to their children to attend. The working adults looking to switch careers are in that navy blue. They are also highly favorable, with about 82% of them saying they are likely to attend. The two groups that trail behind are the adults that are not working and not enrolled at 51%, and then high school students at 59%. So again, overall intent to attend is strong. It's clear that high school students remain where our brand faces the largest opportunity, but the good news is that their parents are our besties, they're our allies. So their influence is gonna help play a major role in shaping how those audiences view Del Mar. So in this last section, we're going to bring together those main insights and what that means for Del Mar College moving forward. So these are the 3 really big takeaways. First, high school students remain our toughest audience. They are the most degree-focused group, but they're also the most skeptical of community colleges. Many of them believed that they could get a better education at a 4-year institution. However, what we did learn from them was that what they are looking for is a sense of belonging, support, and student success stories from their peers. So that's where we can start to shift the perception and make Del Mar really feel like their college. Second, the adults are split. So for those that are not working, the challenge isn't whether Del Mar College is a good option, it's whether college fits into their life at all. For working adults and those looking to switch careers, the story changes a little bit. They're highly familiar with Del Mar, but they're waiting to enroll when programs align with their schedule and their career goals. And third, parents are powerful allies. They are highly aware of Del Mar College, strongly favorable, and they help normalize that community college is a smart and respectable choice. So across every group, what we saw that matters most is affordability, clear program awareness, and social proof, the reviews, the student success stories, and the campus experiences that show outcomes and opportunity. So again, our story here is that Del Mar College's reputation is strong, but that perception among high school students is really our key opportunity. By leaning into affordability, belonging, and success stories, we can close that gap, and Jason and Gracie's teams are going to use these insights in the coming month to show how we're going to be doing that through enrollment and outreach marketing strategies. Thank you. Do y'all have any questions?
Any other questions for Jesse? Regent Kroll?
Well, it's not a question, more of a comment, but part of the focus, the degree-oriented folks, maybe giving them the opportunity to go 2+2, because quite frankly, our financials here are it costs us a lot less to come here for 2 years than it is in any four-year university. So maybe the marketing ought to be somewhat, and I don't know whether college or high school students care much about the dollars, but
it's a car. They care about a car.
Yeah, they want a car. But that 2+2 ought to be a selling point from a economic standpoint.
Thank you. Regent Loeb?
Yeah, I mean, I think we ought to figure out a raffle system where, if they get an A, they get a certain number of tickets for the car. If they get a B, if they get a certificate, if they get a degree. I remember we had a discussion when I first joined the board, and Mark put it off until Jeff got hired, and I guess this is us coming back to it. But I kind of made the comment that I think one of our problems is we're so inexpensive, people think that we aren't as good as other options. And I don't know how you explain that to a high school student that we have professors who make the same or more money than they do at four-year schools. It's just we have a tax rate, and so we're able to pass, that on to students with lower tuition. I don't know how many 16-year-olds are going to understand or listen to that. But, I think one of the things that we can do, the thing that I've been really impressed with since I joined the board, and I've gotten to know staff and faculty more and administrators more, is how many of you are involved in the community in various ways, And I think, universities, they pump up research, and I think we need to talk about how the people who are teaching our classes are professionals in their fields. Some of them are working professionals right now. If your end goal is to get a job in that field, a huge number of our faculty are teaching here, but also actively working in that field or are recently retired in that field. And so I think focusing on those things will get our numbers up. I think we need to have a conversation with employers about them making time for people to come and get an education. That they need to be, if they want a better qualified workforce, they need to make it a priority and let people, spend some time during work coming and going to class, or various things like that, or tuition reimburse their staff, or make sure help their staff get childcare so they can come over. It's not just like parents are our partners with, the younger students on our adults, the employers need to be our partners too. And I hope that as you guys strategize about that, you kind of think about that, and I'm more than happy to help on those things, because I think it's, I've seen there's a huge number of employers that do tuition reimbursement. We don't recognize them. We don't talk about them. And I think by doing that, we can also pressure the other employers that don't do it yet to do it as well. So, but this is great. Are we going to do this on a regular basis so we can kind of do tracking?
Mm-hmm. That's the plan, to do it about every other year or so.
Okay. So the numbers look great. So I guess we'll stop doing it when the numbers look bad. But I know another local government that did that. They did something like this every 2 years, and then the numbers kind of took a nosedive, and they stopped doing it.
Region Loeb, I might add to that, anytime we've ever done this, we've always been at the top of the heap.
Yeah.
As it relates to our perception in the community.
When I saw Jessie in the parking lot coming in, she's like, "Don't ask who the other people are." And I was like, "Don't worry, I already asked Jeff, and he told me." But no, I mean, I think it's a testament to the really great work all of you do, that we're so well regarded in the community, and I think we just have to focus on telling our story. High school students, are the toughest group of people to market to. I remember when I was at the city, it was like, how do we get high school students to go to parks? And it's like, well, by the time we do something that one group likes, they've already changed. They want skate parks one day, they want swimming pools the next. It's a moving target, but I think Regent Garza has talked about us even going down into the middle school level. I think we need to do an esports team. I think that would be great. That would be, I think figuring out ways that we can engage them while they're still in high school, and maybe raffle off some cars. So,
Regent Garza.
Thanks, David, for mentioning some of my thoughts. But first off, none of the data that you showed me surprises me, because I think we are very well regarded across the community. And then high school students first. Initially, they don't know what their parents can and can't afford. Some of them do, but most of them don't. Certainly, over time, they're going to find out what they can afford, and then they're going to have to act accordingly. Two things. I think the idea of actually being able to take examples of success. You're able to take, Cal Island, success stories into Cal Island students, then you get them riled up, and they'll get involved in your dual credit programs. They'll get involved in possibly coming to Del Mar and getting the credentials or the degree that they need. Talk about their importance in getting a car. I think, again, if you get back, show a student to before he got his degree or before he got his credentials, what he was driving, and then the success story, what he's driving now. I mean, tie the two together and figure out if there's something to be had there by those two information pieces that you arrived at. So again, I mean, I think that we got plenty of fertile ground to mine off of or to grow on. And so again, thanks for the information. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for the feedback.
I did have a follow-up question about, you said you are going to repeat this. So this is the first time we've done this methodology of a brand survey. Did we do something a few years back?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
We've done this at least a couple more times that I can recall.
Right.
And we had done those with a few years in between those, so that goes way back though.
So having some research and survey work in my background, I think it will be important to keep the methodology the same over a period of a few years so we can see what those trends might look like. I will note that this came on the heels of the Freedom to Dream tuition waiver. So we were hot and heavy in the middle of all of that marketing and promotion, which I think may be one of the reasons why parents were so high up on the familiarity list, because they spent a lot of time trying to convince their kids to go apply for the Freedom to Dream tuition waiver program. But it will be, so I think this is, I do not think this is a high point, but I think there is a recognition about the breadth and depth of that marketing program to get that information out there around the availability of that tuition to Dream. So I think there was a great piece of work around that. Anything else?
I was just going to say that maybe also be why the high school students are so low, because their parents were gnawing on them to do Del Mar. Or not so low. I mean, 55% is pretty good. We could do some marketing on the difference between our tuition and other people's tuition and how the delta there, you can afford a car payment.
But I can guarantee that in every high school in the coastal Bend area, Del Mar is plastered on every single wall. The counselor's office, dual credit is part of their registration sheet. I find it unlikely that there's not one kid that does not know anything about Del Mar. I find that really disturbing when it's in their face all through high school. So, and I think as dual credit expands, I think that attitude might change. I think, my daughter's here, and she loves Del Mar, loves her classes, but she kind of she wants to be part of that college life. And she feels like she kind of is losing out on that experience. I mean, she'll get it when she goes to a four-year college, but she feels like, I'm not living in a dorm, I'm not going to Friday night football. So she feels like that social part is missing right now. But other than that, she loves Del Mar. So maybe that's why some of the kids are wanting to go to four-year college, because they're going away from home and they're going to be part of that. I'm an adult and that whole social aspect. So then the reality sits in, I can't afford that. So.
It seems like also when you're talking about kids, they may value universities or colleges based on their sports programs. They see the college teams on TV, and it makes it seem more exciting. So.
Well, obviously, great work. Thanks for sharing it with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're going to bring Ms. McDonald up for our last two staff reports. The first one is on the annual Clery Safety and Security Report.
Yes, thank you, Chair. The Clery Act is a federal law that requires institutions to provide detailed information on campus crime and safety policies. Each institution must collect and publish this data annually. I did want to acknowledge that we do have a compliance committee for this report. It takes a lot of people to put this information together. Right before I have Chief White, she's going to come up and provide you with the overview. But our compliance committee, it is in the booklet. You have all been provided with a copy of the book. So we have Nora Keys, myself, Cheryl Sanders, Rita Hernandez, Lauren White, Chris Tweedle, Jessica Alanis, Augie Rivera, and then also College Relations helps us with the publication. So I want to thank everyone for their work. Chief White?
Good afternoon. The Clery Act does require that colleges and universities report campus crime data, support victims of violence, and publicly outline our policies and procedures we have in place to improve campus safety. The college produced the annual safety report in compliance with the Act and the notification to the Department of Education. We want to thank the Compliance Committee, College Relations, and the college's print shop for their assistance in producing the report. Do you all have, I know you all got a copy of it, do you all have any questions in relationship to the report?
Do you have any questions? No.
Okay. Thank you all very much.
Thanks for this thorough work. We've seen it a time or two before, and so we appreciate the thoroughness, and it's available on the college's website now.
It is already, it was posted in the time that it needed to be posted, and it was printed in, actually we were early this year. So
great, thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. McDonald is going to give us a notice and summary of our emergency operations plan submission to the Texas School Safety Center.
Yes, thank you, Chair. What I wanted to first do in introducing the topic is I wanted to acknowledge our emergency management planning team, because some of them will be participating in the presentation today. This is myself, and then Lauren White, our Chief of Police, Nathan Garcia, our Captain in the Police Department, Jessica Alanis, our Executive Director of Administration, Chris Tweedle, our Director of Environmental Health and Safety, and Alex Cahill, our Environmental Health and Safety Manager. So I'm going to let this team help me with this presentation and provide you the overview, and I'm going to pass it on to Ms. Alanis.
Good afternoon. So the Texas Education Code Section 37.2071 requires that school districts and junior colleges develop and submit an emergency operations plan to the Texas School Safety Center, which is located at Texas State University. Each September, the Texas School Safety Center provides institutions notification of the criteria that is up for review and also the expected deadline for submission. The notification we usually receive 30 days prior to the expected deadline. Over the last few years, Del Mar College has developed and revised our EOP and our annexes to meet the criteria each year, and the college has received satisfactory results from our past 3 submissions. A little over a month ago, this past September, we received notification of the expected parts of the EOP that the Texas School Safety Center will review, or is reviewing at the moment, for this cycle. So this cycle included a review of our basic plan and our active threat annex. Along with the notification, we receive a list of criteria in which those parts of the EOP need to meet. Some of those criteria contain changes due to legislative changes and updates of the Texas Education Code that we're required to meet on emergency management. We had begun revising our EOP and our annex when we received the notification, so we were already in that process, but we were able to make additional revisions to ensure that we met all of the criteria according to the Texas School Safety Center for this cycle. So on October 1st, we did submit our EOP basic plan and our active threat annex for review. Normal review in the prior years has taken a few months, so hopefully by December or January, we should receive word on how we did and hopefully a satisfactory result as well. So now Mr. Tweedle and Chief White will provide information on our basic plan and our active threat annex.
Hello. The college's EOP utilizes the 5 phases of emergency management: prevention, mitigation, preparedness, response, and recovery. Prevention is the action taken to prevent an incident from occurring. Mitigation is taking actions to minimize further damages. Preparedness is a continuous cycle of planning, training, and evaluating in order to take corrective actions during an incident. Response is the direct actions taken to address the short-term effects of an incident through the activation of the EOP. And recovery encompasses both short-term and long-term efforts to establish normal businesses of the college. The college's EOP is based on the NIMS principles for emergency management practices and establishes an emergency communication framework within the college.
One of the required submissions from the Texas School Safety Center was the active threat annex, which includes moving from the terminology of active shooter to a broader definition of active threat. The requirements for the avoid, deny, and defend procedures, along with establishing the actions and responsibilities, were included in our plan. The incident management team flow chart complies with the National Incident Management System, as Chris pointed out, NIMS, with some modifications, I will say, to comply with the needs of the college. And then our incident communication network guides the flow of information, decision-making, and both charts are reviewed and updated as needed during our emergency operations planning process.
So in addition to our basic plan and our active threat annex that you just heard about, the full EOP also addresses some other potential incidences and process for preparedness, response, and recovery related to those incidences that may occur on campus. So for example, severe weather, hazardous materials, medical emergencies, cyber security, and train derailment are included in our full EOP plan. So along with reviewing the emergency management steps for these particular incidences, a glossary of terms is also included to ensure that there is consistency in the terminology being used for emergency management. Ms. McDonald will now review some closing information and also something new that's come out of this process.
Thank you, Jessica. On May the 28th, we had conducted our incident management team. We gathered our incident management team and we had what we call our annual hurricane preparedness meeting. So we've made it a point to every May, we bring the team together, we go over a tabletop scenario, and we also go over some of the information we've just talked about in this overview and go over roles and responsibilities, because of course you have new people that join the team, someone might be in a new role, so we make sure everyone understands roles, responsibilities, and how the system actually works. In October, we finalized the plan. Dr. Escamilla signed and formally adopted the statement. October 1st, we submitted the revised EOP to the Texas School Safety Center. It was due on the 2nd. We submitted it on the 1st. We had a college-wide distribution and implementation of the EOP and a quick reference guide. Today, we're providing you with an overview and the notice that we did submit the plan timely, because that is a requirement. And then on October 23rd, we will have what I call our second formal meeting of our incident management team, and we will gather, go over some of the same information. We do have some new team members also for that, so we'll go over roles, responsibilities, and we will be conducting a tabletop exercise in October. Anytime in between, we could call incident management team meetings depending on the circumstance, because of course, pretty much most things are not planned. So if there's any given incident that happens, then we'll call the team together and we'll go through our steps of how do we need to handle this incident, depending on its situational, what is going on and what we need to address. I want to, like I said, make sure that we thank the team. They've done a great job on this. And I wanted to point out the addition we made this year. We've been talking about this for a while. So this is a quick reference guide for emergency and incident procedures. Because I know, even though we push this out to all employees, there's a lot of information. So this is in a hurry. What do I need to do? What do I need to know? And not every incident's an emergency, but of course, when something's happening, it could seem like an emergency. So this covers both, but this is going to be utilized for employees and for students. So it's in the actual plan, but it's a single document, and we're going to be pushing this out to employees, like with our new employee orientation packets. I'm working with student services that we can put it in new student orientation. I know Chief White attends a lot of the new student orientation, and she provides something, so we'll make sure we push it out for that. And then we'll be working with staff and faculty and with Dr. Halcom's team to make sure, do we want to put this in Canvas courses? So just make sure that this guide is available so we can basically canvas it throughout the college community to make it available. Just a little bit about, hey, this is what you need to do, or make sure you sign up for the DMC alerts, and a little bit of information about that. And I do want to, I think I saw Adrian here earlier. Adrian Van Brunt, she helped put this together for me, helped me do some research, and she put this document together, so I want to make sure I recognize her for putting this together.
Do you have anything like this in all the classrooms? Just so, so that the kids know what to do and the students know?
Yeah, this is something we just developed, and we just started honestly pushing it out last week. Okay. So that will be part of, like I said, we're going to kind of blanket what everywhere we need to provide the information. It could be every classroom, Canvas shells. This is something that we'll make sure is linked to our reference and syllabi. So we're working with Dr. Halcom and with other faculty and staff to make sure that, but the formal procedures, of course, like I said, new employee orientation, onboarding, the new student orientation, so we'll be working on making sure it gets put into those processes.
But we have begun integrated into the students' experience as they come on board with orientation and that kind of stuff. So
yeah, it'll be integrated, yes, with the student experience, yes, sir, and the employee experience. This could be utilized for both.
Regent Loeb?
Yeah, when I was going through the packet, I saw this slide and I noticed that we cover a lot of things, but the thing that isn't covered on this is we don't talk about drought or water outage, which, I had a conversation over the weekend where, it looks like we're going to be in curtailment sometime in the next year. And one of the circumstances of that curtailment basically mean that we are going to have a single point of failure for our water system, whereas now if a pipeline goes down, they can release more water from the lakes, but if there's no water in the lakes, then if the pipeline goes down, we don't, we could not have water as an institution or a community for a period of days to a month, depending on where that break happens. And so I was wondering if we have done any planning around that, and if not, when can we get that done?
Okay, what we have done, and this is, the process will mimic, we have had also a lot of experience with electrical outages, with either a single building, a campus, so we have had a lot of incidents where we've had to manage that. I have done some research and what other places are calling it. Some of them just call it, electrical outages, and then you just follow the same kind of the same order of how would you survive without electricity. So the same would be without water. But I have noticed that some of them use utility failure. So I think that's a good point. I think we'll start using that terminology instead of just electrical. We'll move to utility failure. And there are certain stages. There are stages of what if it's the first 2 hours, what do we do? 24 hours. Is it a day? Is it a week? Is it a month? So that's like with any incident, it's how are you going to function? So that gets taken down to, well, this is the college-wide, and if we're just without water, period, that's a college decision for the whole system. If we're curtailment, what does that mean for this program or that campus? That goes down to the division department programmatic level. So those are conversations that we are having with this team. I think I was just informed earlier, and I said, well, that's probably a good segue into this, is that our tabletop we thought we were going to be having in October is something that we're going to have to move to another time. So I think we're probably going to use that as a substitute, and we'll talk about water then. Okay. So I think that would be a good substitute topic. So.
I mean, our tabletop's normally a hurricane, and that's what everybody's praying for.
Yeah. We've done hurricane.
So it's like, is that the disaster, or is the other one the disaster? I also want to add, I had lunch with one of our state legislators yesterday, and they articulated that they had gotten a lot of questions from school districts about curtailment and what sort of state resources were available, and would there be any state level coordination of everything. And so they were talking about kind of trying to put together something where they could bring in the state people to talk to everybody, and so I volunteered us to host, because we've got a room and food and everything. So, but I mean, we're not the only institution in this boat. So, I mean, I think, if I just bring it up because I think it's becoming non-ignorable for us. We all hope that it gets solved at the supply level, but it might not be, and doesn't appear that it will be. And so I just want to make sure on an institutional level we're ready for whatever happens, because it's our job to be ready for these things. So.
Right, and it's at all levels. Is it just we need drinking water, the potable water for drinking, or is it you can't flush your toilets and that's an environmental health issue? So and everything else in between, is it, yes.
Right,
yes, sir.
And I mean, I don't know, for instance, whether it's a possibility for us to drill wells that we've got and we can run the air conditioning and the toilets and tell everybody, don't drink the water, here's a bottled water, and we can keep running or not. I don't know if that's possible for us or not. I know on pre-K, if the water's out for an hour, you got to send everybody home. And if that's the case for us, okay, this is like COVID again. Everybody get on their laptop, but we need to have that planning in place where we know what to do when it happens, because, I guess that will be the benefit of COVID, is we learn how to do that. But it won't be fun, but I want us to be able to keep operating at the highest level we can.
There's probably, I guess, two scenarios related to that. One is emergency response if there is an abrupt water issue, water break, but then the other is the planning for the longer term issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah. It probably has less to do with what you're presenting today and more to do with you have sparked an inquiry that we probably need to be thinking about.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's hard to call it an emergency.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that it's kind of a little bit different in that it's, a lot of these are, it's happening now and it just happens and we're dealing with the aftermath. This is kind of the slow rolling, but no less impactful.
It's part of business continuity, which is basically an after effect possibly of an emergency, because it's how do you recover, how do you come back? And that would be part of business continuity, which we do cover in our instant planning and our meetings also in our plans.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I wanted to compliment the quick reference guide. I think that really is excellent, and I can see little social media posts out of it. I can see DMC. Here's a practice alert, or be ready for. Well, I don't know what that's going to look like, but I just think this is really good information. So kudos for putting that quick reference guide available for folks.
It takes a great team, so I appreciate the team.
Any other questions on the emergency operations plan submission? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, looking at our pending business list, at our November meeting, we'll get our full enrollment report and Freedom to Dream update. And workshop, that's right, we're going to do workshop. So in some way, shape, or form, look at that November meeting for lots of information. We've strategic planning, strategic enrollment plan, strategic marketing plan, our initial information around our SAC COC fifth year report. So a lot of good stuff coming in our November meeting. And then a full TERS update in December. So we'll look to those representatives from the board and staff to kind of give us an update of what the different TERS entities are doing that we currently participate in. Yes, sir.
On TERS, the city council has taken some initial steps on TERS number 7.
Mm-hmm. That is not on the agenda today to discuss, so I'm going to ask you to ask that question individually to Dr. Escamilla or Lenora, please. Thank you. All right. Our consent agenda, we have items 1 and 2, which are approval of minutes and acceptance of our investment report. Is there anything need to be pulled for separate consideration? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve? Dr. Babley, is there a second? Second by Mr. Kelly. Any discussion on that motion? Is there any public comment on our consent agenda? Seeing none, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed, same sign. That motion passes unanimously. All right, moving on to our regular agenda, we're going to go to item number 4, which is the discussion action related to the college's quarterly investment report. Mr. Garcia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. President, members of the Board of Regents. Today we welcome Mr. Barry Boyer from Meteor Investment Company. He will provide an overview of the college's investment performance and strategies with a backdrop of today's economic conditions. Following the presentation, there's an action item for the board's consideration. Thank you.
Mr. Boyer?
Yes, ma'am.
Great. Nice to meet you.
Good to meet you. Thank you, Madam Chair, President Escamilla, members of the Board of Regents. I very much appreciate the opportunity to be with you today. As Mr. Garcia mentioned, my goal today is to give you an overview of the quarterly investment report for as of August 31st for the college. I'm with Meteor Public Funds. We do have the privilege of serving as an investment advisor for the college, working alongside Mr. Garcia and his staff to ensure compliance of the portfolio with state statutes and current investment policy. This first page, page 1. Oh, before I start, please feel free to ask any question you have at any point in time. I'll be happy to answer or do my best to get the answer for you. This first page is a quarterly portfolio summary. Just shows a summary of your portfolio as of May 31st to August 31st. This page is a PFIA, Public Funds Investment Act compliance page, as noted there at the top, that shows the previous quarter end versus the current quarter end. The May 31st book value of $113 million, ending August 31st at $78 million. Investment income for the period there, the third line on the right, and kind of in the middle, is just over $1.1 million. We'll revisit that on the next page as well, but always like pointing that out. But $1.1 million for the period, again, that's for 3 months. The overall yield of the portfolio there on the bottom right is 4.35%. The weighted average maturity is just 0.23 years, which is pretty short, but very much in line with goals and a good fit for the marketplace based on where rates are at this time. Felt a question there, no? Okay, all right. Just wanted to make sure. Next page, portfolio overview there, just to give you an idea of where the portfolio sits as far as market rates. There on the left, the performance of the portfolio with a yield of 4.35% is a little above the 4.15% benchmark of the 6-month Treasury bill. The portfolio itself just a little bit shorter than that on its weighted average maturity, taking advantage of fairly high short-term rates that we've had over the past year or so. The weighted average maturity of the portfolio maximum limit is 365 days. We're currently at about 83 days. Again, that's an average for the entire portfolio. Furthermore, the credit rating of the portfolio is very high. Your liquidity vehicle, the Logic Pool, is AAA-M rated. That's the highest possible credit rating you can have, as are your agencies, as well as the commercial paper within the portfolio. So a very high credit rating within the portfolio itself. Two ways to ensure risk is managed in the portfolio are through maturity distribution and portfolio allocation. The other two boxes there on the page. As you can see, the maturity distribution of the portfolio is spread out from 0 to 2 years, as well as the portfolio allocation on the right is diversified among different investments in pools, as well as treasuries, commercial paper, and of course bank deposits for your operating cash. This next page is an overview of the different security types and balance. That first line, LGIP, that's just an acronym for Local Government Investment Pool. That's your Logic Pool, about $46 million or so in the portfolio. The money market funds, that's your bank deposits, about $4 million. Commercial paper, that's short-term AAA rated investments there, and then U.S. Treasuries for the longer term portion, about $15 million or so. Again, right there in the middle of the page, the total earnings for the quarter, a little over $1.1 million. So that's a good number to point at. I do a lot of these types of meetings, and a couple years ago, that wasn't near as much fun to talk about, the earnings for the portfolio. But thankfully, rates have come back up the past few years. We've really enjoyed some very nice earnings and performance for the fund. All right. This next page just shows how we report your funds across the different fund types. The first section there, the blue bar, local maintenance. The next section, plant, revenue bond, interest and sinking, and then tax bond, interest and sinking. The actual term investments within your portfolio are all in the local maintenance fund. That's your commercial paper as well as your U.S. Treasuries. The balance of the funds are in the overnight investment pool. So you don't see a lot of changes there. But again, the concentration of the investments themselves are in the local maintenance fund. This final page that I'll cover, this is really something more in tune for your staff as well as your auditor. But if anyone ever wonders what the college invests in, this is the page that tells you. This is a position statement that shows a detailed listing of every holding of the college, as well as when you bought it, when it matures, and the credit rating, furthermore, over on the right. Again, the portfolio itself carries a very high credit rating, and it is meeting the diversification requirements of the college through diversifying across the yield curve, across different maturities, as well as different sector types. So that's kind of where we are. I'll pause real quick to see if there are any questions at this point in time about anything we've looked at, and I'll give you kind of a quick view of what we expect in the next year.
Any questions for Mr. Boyer? Great. Continue.
All right. Over the next year, we're all hearing in the news, interest rates are expected to go down. As you know, the president pretty much beats the table every day yelling at Mr. Powell to lower rates. We have had a rate cut recently in September. We do expect another rate cut in October. Possibly as many as 3 to 4 next year by the end of 2026. Where that's going to be impactful to your portfolio is the overnight rate, where there is a portion of your funds. It is an essential function, just something to be aware of that those overnight rates are going down. However, the good thing is that we do have a laddered portfolio of commercial paper and treasuries, which as those mature, we'll continue to reinvest those on the yield curve to lock in yield certainty, as opposed to being too liquid where we were subject to those falling interest rates. That is something to be aware of over this next year. It is a general consensus that rates are expected to go down, but we should end next year with the investment pool rate still right at 3%, based on what the pool market is telling us. Historically speaking, 3% in public funds in Texas is still a very good yield, something very good to talk about. I lived through the 5 to 6 years of 0% interest rates, and we are not there, and we're glad about that. So that's kind of what the market looks like over the next year or so. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Boyer. So staff is recommending that we approve the college's quarterly investment report for the period. Dr. Babley, make the motion.
Second.
Second by Dr. Adami. Are there any other questions or comments? Is there any public comment on this motion? If not, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed, same sign. That motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much for being with us, Mr. Boyer.
Thank you very much for
Mr.
the
Garcia.
opportunity.
Oh, Mr. Garcia's got to come back for the quarterly financial statement.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair.
We're gonna, there we go. And we're ready. There we go.
Okay, excellent. All right. So before we take a deeper dive into our financials, I would like to inform the board that the college is in the final stages of closing out its books for the fiscal year. This will be followed by the audit of our financial statements by Adamson and Company, LLC. The preliminary year-end financial information presented today represents the college's financial activity for the 12 months ending August 2025. This information is subject to change pending the final audit report, which will be presented to the board in December. Additionally, the surplus reported in the final audit report will be transferred to the college's plant fund. Now let's begin with the overview of the college's income and expense statement. I'm pleased to report to the college the college remains financially sound with revenues currently trending above expenses by $12.5 million. This favorable difference is primarily driven by 5 factors. So starting with the results of the college's revenues. For reasons just reported by the Meter Group, our investment performance surpassed expectations, resulting in an additional $3.1 million in revenue for our investment income. Property tax revenues, a second item, property tax revenues exceeded projections by $2.8 million, driven in part by stronger than expected property tax valuations, which were influenced by the settlements of protests filed with the Appraisal Review Board. Third item, our fast appropriations exceeded projected expectations by $1.2 million due to the enhanced outreach initiatives focused on recruiting dual credit students through strengthening partnerships with local independent school districts. So moving on to the expense section of the financials. The reported total salary and benefit expense category came under budget by $2.1 million due to lower than projected spending for faculty and non-exempt salary line items and the related benefits. I'm sorry, that's prior to that expense category. There we go. Okay, so I just talked about salary and the expense category. The next category is total non-salary expenses, which is the college's second major expense category. It remained flat relatively to the planned budget, but here are a few budget to actual comparison highlights. The equipment expense increased by $1.5 million relative to the planned budget, is partially attributed to strategic investments in classroom equipment, including a combined total of $1.1 million for the dental and welding programs, and $500,000 to support the computer replacement initiative across all campuses. Second item, the contract labor and consultants expense increased by $1.2 million due to unanticipated emergency repairs, including extensive pipe work and HVAC system replacement across our campuses. To address these urgent needs, $1.6 million was reallocated from the general maintenance repair budget, which shows a corresponding decrease on the report. Next item. The insurance expense increased by $1 million because of lower than expected insurance premium costs. Lastly, the college's strong financial performance eliminated the need to draw from the planned contingency reserve valued at $1.9 million. Collectively, all these items, these financial results contributed to the increase in our net position for fiscal year valued at $12.5 million. If there are no questions, we will transition on to the balance sheet.
I have a question about the FAST appropriation. When do we, that doesn't accrue on a month-to-month basis, so when do we know that numbers are going to be what we budgeted, much higher than what we budgeted, lower? I mean, how does that reporting come in?
Well, I need my expert up here. I'm not too sure if she's in today. Jackie?
Jackie's there?
Yes.
There's Jackie.
So she can explain a little bit more about the...
I mean, that's a fabulous thing that our FAST appropriate, that means we had more students taking dual credit through Del Mar College than we anticipated. But when do we know that?
But I want to point out, too, we are accruing for some performance items, and she can explain that a little bit more. So we're not necessarily on a cash basis reporting. So, Jack.
Thank you. So I can tell you this year it's kind of varying. So the first year of the FAST program, it seemed like the state was pretty quick about getting the information back, sending us those confirmations, letting us view it, and confirm those reimbursements. I know the first biennium, their estimate for the FAST reimbursements was low. So I know this last biennium legislative session, they had to request additional funds. So they are well behind this year on reimbursing. I think we've only received one payment for fiscal year 2025. We have received confirmations. I think the only semesters that we haven't received confirmations on is for spring CE and summer CE and summer flex. I think those are the only three that we haven't received confirmations, so we're doing an estimate on those. We did book 1.1 million or 1.2 million for receivable for FAST, and that's based off of confirmations from the coordinating board on what we're going to get reimbursed. We just haven't received the funds yet.
So this 2.3 that is listed in the actuals column includes that accrued but not yet received amount of 1.2 that you just
Yes,
described.
and there's, yes, ma'am. And then the estimate that I just did yesterday for what we haven't confirmed is about another $1 million. We also have included in there for fiscal year 2024, they did what they call a true-up. That amount is in there that it's confirmed, we're expecting it, we just haven't received it yet. And then also remember with the timing, some of the money that we did receive for fiscal year 25 was actually fiscal year 24. We did accrue back some of it, but with that first year, we weren't real sure exactly what it was going to be for the whole year, especially on CE because their quarters are so different in their timing on the semesters. So a little bit of that hit in 25.
Okay. When I look at these revenue numbers and to be 7% above, on both of those categories, the state revenue funding and other revenues, I think is incredible.
It is amazing.
Yes,
it is amazing.
it is.
It's really the work of the team behind me that's really doing a lot of recruiting efforts. It's amazing. It is amazing. Yeah.
Other questions on this page for Mr. Garcia? All right.
Okay, so moving on to the balance sheet. Okay, so over the past 12 months, the college has experienced a year-over-year increase in total assets value, 2.2 million, due to two major factors. First, the fast appropriations receivable that Jackie just spoke about increased by 1.2 million is due to the payment delays from the state, but this is actually our true performance. We have information to back it up, and we're prepared to defend that with our auditors. And then second, cash and investment increased in part due to strategic gains in student performance and investment strategies that Mr. Boyer just spoke about. On the liability side of the balance sheet, the college reported a year-over-year decline totaling $3.5 million. This is attributed mainly to three key factors. First, accounts payable decreased by $1.2 million due to improved efficiencies in settling outstanding payments in a timely manner, resulting in fewer vendor invoices in queue for payment at year-end. Second, deferred tuition state appropriations funding declined by nearly $1 million due to the payment delays from the state. That payment delayed is now reported as state appropriations receivable on the asset side of the balance sheet, reflecting a shift in activity. Lastly, the college experienced a year-over-year change in the pension and OPEB liabilities and deferred inflows of nearly $1 million. This is due in part to better than expected financial performance of the two funds. Transitioning to the M&O net pension, to the net position, I'm sorry. So I'm pleased to report the year-over-year increase of $5.8 million is due to the college's strong operating performance, contributing $4.6 million to the overall increase on the balance sheet, or the net position. Additionally, the strong financial performance in the net of pension and OPEB funds added another $1 million. So in summary, the financial results positions the college for continued financial stability and growth. Are there any questions?
I see none. So is that it?
Yes.
Yep. Just want to make sure before I cut you off.
Yeah.
So do we have an action to approve the college's quarterly financial report? Motion by Dr. Adami, second by Mr. Kelly. Any questions or comments on that motion? Is there any public comment? Seeing none, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed, same sign. That motion passes unanimously.
Great, thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. McDonald is going to talk to us about discussion and possible action related to a welding shop project change order, job order contract, sorry, not change order.
Thank you. In August of 25, Del Mar College began an initial renovation work on the reference project, which I'm calling the welding lab project, with the issuance of a work order and engaged Spa Glass for these services. Due to welding program demands related to trends in enrollment growth, the scope of the work needed to be aligned with the needs of our program and our students. The work order that was originally issued needs to transition to a job order contract, as the project estimate now exceeds $500,000. To accomplish this transition, the Purchasing and Business Services Department has already utilized a competitively awarded job order contract through TIPS, which includes Spa Glass. When you go through TIPS, they're already pre-qualified and to be awarded a job order contract. This project is transforming approximately 6,000 square feet of space into a welding lab that includes 50 additional welding booths. I'm going to ask Dean Davis Merrill to come up, and he's going to provide you with some additional information about our programs, about the welding program.
As Dean Merrill steps up, I'd just like to say, Regents, that what he's about to share is like more incredible than I even realized in terms of the scale, the capacity of our college, and as it supports our welding program. It's truly way more exciting. But I've asked him that we've worked him into the presentation, and you're going to be quite amazed with what you hear.
Yeah, thanks for no pressure there.
You're used to it.
Okay. With the repurposing of the Metal Tech building, hopefully completion in January, we will have 167 operational booths plus the plasma cutters. Currently, we're at 2,326 total students in welding, and that's through dual credit, dual enrollment, traditional students together. As of our number of awards, spring 2025, we had 48 Cert 1 industry welding graduates. We had 144 Cert 1 intermediate welding graduates. We had 43 advanced Cert 2 graduates and 14 AASs. The total of our options for ISDs is 41. We have 20 schools that we're working with closely that have students either on their campus or with us, both ways. The total number of ISDs that come to DMC specifically for training is 11, and the total number of ISDs that we teach specifically at their campus is at 10. We currently have 8 full-time instructors, 15 term instructors, we need 5 more, 2 adjuncts, and 4 skills trainers, and we do not have an administrative assistant or anyone helping to work with those issues. One thing I wanted to make of note is 3 times a day we have 100+ students coming to the campus, and they are needing space for changing rooms and bathrooms and other issues. Same for other programs in industrial tech, and I'm pretty sure within the next year or 2 we're going to run into the same issues with HVAC and building trades as well as they continue to grow. Recently, the I guess brain trust is what I'll call them for welding came in and said, hey, we would like to talk to you about adding pipe fitting and welding art. And I was like, okay, well, let's talk about that. They already had a degree plan ready. Everything was ready to go. They had already talked to the art department behind my back. That's okay. But I think that's going to be a good partnership for welding sculpture and working with our art program. So in comparison with what we have, reached out and pulled some data from some colleagues, and Midland College currently has an enrollment of 5,519 students total as of 23-24, and they had 56 Cert 1 graduates. Kilgore College in 2024 had a total enrollment of the college at 7,557. They had 15 AAS degrees and 18 Cert 1 graduates. Houston Community College has an enrollment based on 2024 of almost 50,000 students. They have 2,985 welding students, 162 booths. They are on 5 campuses within their 7 campuses total. They only had 17 AAS graduates, 72 pipe fitting graduates, and 156 Cert 1 instructional welding graduates. So they have 4 more locations than we do. We're still pretty close as far as our overall enrollment with them, but I've got some data that is coming in from a couple of other schools, also bigger schools, but I just wanted to bring to your attention the scope of what we have.
2,900, round numbers, 2,900.
Yes.
In a town of 2.3 million, Houston proper.
On 5 campuses.
On 5 campuses, and we have 2,300 here in an area in a metro, in an area that serves 500,000 people.
Correct.
And at GP, we moved the welding program starting at the junior high level, doing all their safety training, so they are ready to go by the time they get to become freshmen. So
I'm proud to say we helped build those booths some years back, over 10 years ago. I mean, our faculty literally got out there and rolled up their sleeves over a summer and helped build those booths. 2,300 as compared to Houston at 2,900.
Correct.
Dean Merrill, I don't think they're working behind your back. I think they understand the assignment and they're getting it done.
We'll call it even then.
Just like that.
The good part is not only that program, but several of the other programs do the same things. Instrumentation has grown exponentially. Building trades, HVAC has grown exponentially. So it's a competition.
Space is at a premium. I'm also very, very proud to say how you repurposed the space of a program that we closed out recently. and to repurpose that space and to get in there. Nothing's cheap, but at the same time, it's just, we saved money in so many different ways by just repurposing that space. That's just awesome.
All right, well, the motion, the decision before us is to approve transitioning this project to a job order contract. Is there a motion to that effect? So moved, Dr. Babley, second by Dr. Turner. Any other questions about the motion? Yes, sir, Mr. Krull.
Well, the memo outlines that the work by Spall Glass is not to exceed $500,000, but there's no mention of what the cost is for Striddy Callens and Associates to do the design work. And is that within a budget or?
Yes, the information I have today is for what we know to date for Spall Glass. And because that was the contract we needed to transition. Striddy Callens was issued under the IDIQ, which is already pre-qualified by the board several years ago. So it falls within those services that we didn't have to bring to the board. So I don't have that exact number, but it was because it was already pre-qualified and we could just pick from that IDIQ list.
Okay.
But the Spall Glass information right now to date, and like I said, because the scope had grown with what the dean had mentioned, is right now it's at $1,275,000 and change. They had to take that space and basically make it from a conditioned space to a non-conditioned space. So that took a lot, and proper ventilation. So there was a lot more work since we expanded the scope than initially. And the electrical power. There's just a lot of, that's why Striddy Callens is actually the lead instead of traditionally you would have your architect. But Striddy Callens, because we needed more of a mechanical, electrical professional services on this project versus
if you're rehabbing an existing building, the need for an architect is minimal.
Right. So that's why we have Striddy Callens as the lead for this.
And it's in the budget.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
and it will be the unexpended funds from 25 is where the funds will come from.
Thank you, Mr. Krull. Mr. Loeb?
Yeah, I was going to ask how much in total it was, but I think this is great. This is wonderful. I think it's great that we're getting a welding art program. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, we'll sign you up.
Yeah.
But let me just also
can
add,
we do like a civilians go out there and learn thing? I mean, that would be a lot of fun for a lot of people.
It'd be a new part of the
Davis says yes.
right?
But one other thing too, that this is really, really critical, and why the timeliness of all of this. Welding is entering the high demand list for eligibility starting next year. Okay, coming in. So the timing of this to open up these booths, to open up capacity, even beyond what we have now, even just to sustain. And I know. By the way, qualification. Davis says he needs more faculty. He needs to. It's not that the budget's not there. It's just finding the qualified people is the hard part. Okay,
yeah,
so I just
we've lost 5.
Yes,
since summer
because they're making such great livings. The other thing is, again, the importance of this hitting at a time when welding will come in, and amongst other programs, and the high demand list means the return for our investment is just magnified even more in the future. So timing could not be more better.
You have other questions, Mr.
More better.
I do. Well, and I think in terms of marketing the program, I know university does kind of art demonstrations down at Art Walk, which I think would be good for that. But to Mark's point, we teach at other campuses where they have built welding booths with our assistants. Can we explore renting those booths when those campuses are not otherwise open, so we can magnify and I know it's good because we want to have enough capacity on our campuses, but if we're growing really rapidly before we can get them done.
The school districts turf is really difficult for all kinds of reasons anymore. Things have really changed. Access to school districts is a security concern like it never was before. Never say never, and let's see how the art department takes off with it. I think that's going to be an opportunity there that maybe transforms into something for what you're talking about. So
We do have
Yeah.
nights and weekends
Yeah.
open also on campus.
Okay, great.
And then the shifts start at 7 in the morning and end at 11 at
11
night.
o'clock.
Of 7 to 11, we have any given day, I think 4 or 5, let's see, almost 600 people coming through a day at a time,
Yeah.
give or take. 500-600 people.
I know I have a friend who is very active in workforce in the 80s, and she's like, where do all the welders go?
Yeah.
Because she's like, it's like hundreds a year, and we keep needing more welders. And I saw the workforce data, and it is the entry point job for a huge number of careers. So yes, we train them as a welder. They go get a job. They do well. They get a different job, they get promoted up and out.
Yeah,
And
they're in the
so,
construction fields, and I have one that's a construction manager right now who started off as a level 1 certificate and ate all my groceries for years. Anyway, he's moved on and is doing very well in the construction field with the level 1 certificate. So,
Any other questions on the motion?
nope, this is great.
Seeing none, is there any public comment on this motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed, same sign. That motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
great job. Thank you.
Last is asking the board to confirm Mr. Regent David Loeb to continue serving on the TERS number 4 board, which is the North Beach TERS. He is, that term has expired, and he is interested in continuing to represent Del Mar College. I'll make the motion to reappoint Mr. Loeb. Is there a second? Dr. Babley, thank you very much. Any discussion on that item? Is there any public comment on that item? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed, same sign. Mr. Loeb's abstained. Oh, did you raise your hand? Okay, then there's a unanimous.
I don't think I have a financial interest in me having to go to the city for TERS meetings, so yeah.
Nope. All right. At this time, the board will go into closed session pursuant to Texas Government Code 551.071, consultation with legal counsel, 551.087, deliberation regarding economic development, and Texas Government Code 551.074A1 regarding personnel matters. The time is 3:29 p.m. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have come back from closed session at 4:50 p.m. We have no action items coming out of closed session. So the last item on our agenda is calendaring. There are several of us going to the ACCT Leadership Conference next week, and then the week following is our scholarship banquet. If you're planning on attend, please make sure that Delia knows that. We will have a workshop prior to our regular meeting on November 11th. And we'll get back to you on the specific time, but I think Delia has sent you the calendar invite for that. Please mark your calendar for Viking Fest on Saturday the 15th. You'll be getting more information about that as well. And to round out our year, our December board meeting will be December 9th. Season celebration and our commencement for this fall semester will be on December 12th. And winter break begins for faculty and staff on the 19th. Is there anything else for calendaring, Mr. Chair? Ms. Delia? Nope. Mr. President, I mean? All right, then with no further business, this meeting is adjourned at 4:51 p.m.